B, do I have time to ask a quick question?
Might want to use the chat, John.
Yeah, okay.
There we are. Good afternoon, everyone. I will call this meeting of Lunenburg Town Council, a regular meeting of our council, to order. It is Tuesday, September 22nd, and we are experiencing somewhat or some portion of a tropical storm, so named Teddy. So I start with that, just with the understanding that we are meeting electronically, and should there be some technical glitches that cause us to abandon the meeting, that is a possibility, and we hope we don't have to resort to that and can get through our agenda. Also, before actually getting into the business of our meeting, I would, as was noted in the agenda, I would like to just call everyone's attention for a few minutes to honor Reverend Dr. D. Lawrence Mawhinney, who was our mayor from 1979 to 2012, a grand total of 33 years. Lawrence was the face and voice of Lunenburg through many challenges, like the decline of the fishery and the exodus of clear water, and many triumphs, like the UNESCO World Heritage designation of Old Town Lunenburg, which celebrates its 25th anniversary this year. And through it all, he served and led with intelligence and integrity, with determination and dignity, and with passion and style. Lawrence represented us while he also was serving the municipalities throughout the province as a president of the Union of Nova Scotia Municipalities, and then as well representing municipalities across the country as president of the Federation of Canadian Municipalities. He instilled pride in us and made us all proud. But being an elected official as our mayor was only a part of what Lawrence did and who he was. He was also a Presbyterian minister and served congregations here and in neighboring municipalities. And above all, he was a husband, father, and grandfather. I'd like to publicly thank his wife, Marion, his sons, David and Michael, his daughters, Allison and Suzanne, for sharing him so generously with all of us for so many years. Our deepest condolences go out to you all. His legacy of service will speak for itself, and he will be long and fondly remembered. And I'd invite everyone please to join in me in a moment of silence in his honor and in his memory. Thank you. And also just a reminder or a notice for anyone who may not know that there will be a book of condolence that we're making available at the bandstand. That is to start tomorrow afternoon at noon, although I can believe that that very well may be canceled or postponed, but we do have another opportunity on Thursday where we're hoping to have good weather, and the book will be available at our bandstand from 12 noon until 3 p.m. on at least Thursday and hopefully part of Wednesday afternoon as well. But the book, or there's an opportunity also over both those days and during those timeframes at the Sweeney's Funeral Home. And so that's not weather dependent, that location. So I hope lots of people will take advantage of that opportunity to leave a memory and a message for Lawrence's family. So before I ask for a motion to approve our agenda, I would look or make an acknowledgement of the fact that we are on Mi'kma'ki, the ancestral and unceded territory of the Mi'kmaq people. And we will look forward to Mi'kmaq History Month, which starts in October. And so having dispensed with those important notices, I would ask for a motion to approve the agenda and invite with an addition to the agenda of the discussion on our arena opening, which was in the chart below the main agenda, but we do have some new information provided for us for consideration. So could I have a motion, please? Yes, Councillor Mosier and Councillor Risser moving the agenda with that addition. Am I correct to assume? Thank you. And I believe it will be under further on the agenda under new business. We can deal with that. Under unfinished business. Yes, under 8, I believe. So with that being moved and seconded, all in favor? And no one to oppose, so the motion is carried. Thank you. And I do now need motions to approve our meeting minutes of September 8th and 15th. Moved by Councillor Mosier and seconded by Councillor Croft to approve both those sets of meeting minutes. Any errors or omissions? Hearing none, all in favor? No one to oppose. Motion is carried, and those meeting minutes stand as our official record. On 5, public hearings, presentations, and questions, there are none. And 6, correspondence, petitions, and proclamations consideration. Likewise, nothing included. So we move right into business arising from minutes and unfinished business. 7A, corporate services. And all of these items are bolded as they were brought forward from our previous meeting. So we have first the municipal and CSAP elections 2020 and a resolution drafted for us for consideration. Is there anyone that would like to move the resolution as presented? Yes, Councillor Bachman. So moving?
So moving without reading it all?
Okay. I'm still trying to there.
So the end result of this, Your Worship, with the seconder is that it will be mailed to all the households in unaddressed mail, and it will also appear in electric utility bills outgoing. So it might, there'll be a lot of coverage for this change in voting procedure, as well the mailing cards to voters that IntelliVote puts out. So the returning officer just wanted to make sure there was additional coverage of this updated election format.
Okay. So be it therefore resolved that pursuant to section 50 parentheses 2 of the Municipal Government Act, the council hereby approves and directs that the notice referred to in section 50 parentheses 1 of the Municipal Elections Act, notice of poll, be circulated with the electric bills at the end of September. So Councillor Bachman moved and the seconded by Councillor Risser. All in favor, or any discussion? I should have asked, but any discussion? All in favor? Motion is carried. Thank you. Fairly self-explanatory, thankfully. And the motion is carried. So we move into the next item under corporate services, proposed adoption of revised bylaw number 38, solid waste management bylaw. And we're just looking here for a motion to give first reading.
I'd so move, your worship.
Thank you very much. And seconded by Councillor Risser, that we give first reading to this, the amendments to this bylaw. Were they highlighted in the document this time?
Sorry, the amendments, your worship?
Yes.
Is that what you're referring to? Well, there are extensive amendments of particular interest to council and the solid waste management group that we had in place is the elimination of plastic bags for leaves, that they would just be placed in either the composting or paper bags. And then some other just essential updates in regards to bulky waste, because as you know now, every second week we have an opportunity to put out one additional bulky or one bulky item or another bag of garbage. And so that's incorporated in this bylaw. But overall, it's a general update of the bylaw, so it will replace the existing bylaw. Certainly for the next meeting, we could circulate one with more highlights in it if that's helpful to make that clear, the various changes, but they are considerable.
Thank you for that. I had thought, thanks, I appreciate the synopsis. And as I recall, those things might have been highlighted previously for our attention, but helpful to know the major features, if there are any, aside within the general housekeeping updating. So is there any further discussion? We would, it will move then. It moves on for a second reading at an upcoming meeting by matter of process. Ms. Renton, is that correct?
That's right. Depending on when the advertisement goes in, your worship, that needs a 2-week advertising period. So it would come up at the next council meeting to be considered. So hopefully we can expedite that within the term of the current council, because it would be nice to close that out. So, you know, sometime in the month of October, we'll do our best to get it on that next agenda.
Thank you. Councillor Bachman, you had raised your hand. Had you a question or I thought you had? Nope. Okay. Very good. And that will then be considered once again at an upcoming meeting after proper notice is given to the public of the changes being proposed. Next, we have the proposed adoption of committees of council policy. And
sorry, your worship, on a point of order, I don't think we had, oh, did we vote on that? Yes, we did. Sorry.
I will double, did we vote on that? Or do we vote on it? Yes, we did.
I think you did.
Okay.
Your meeting is going so
My mistake,
smoothly, it
sorry.
seemed like you did.
Yeah. Well, it's
Maybe we should refer to the minute taker, just to make sure.
yeah.
It's notice of motion, so you didn't need to make a vote on it, did you?
It was notice of motion last time, I think, and this is first reading. So we do need a motion this time, but
Yeah, we made the motion for first reading, yes.
yes.
We didn't vote on it.
Did we not? We did not then?
I thought we did.
Okay, well, there, I'm looking to Ms. Renton for if we.
I thought you did as well, but if it helps to reconfirm so you can move on,
Sure.
I'm more than pleased to re-record that, your worship. I have it recorded as being motion carried, but I might have just assumed that.
So we will, just to confirm and make sure we're all good, have a vote on the motion first reading for amended bylaw 38. All in favor? No one opposed. Motion is carried. There we go. So then we will move on then to 3 and 4, which are somewhat related. Proposed adoption of committees of council policy.
Your worship, I would move, this is a new policy. I would make the motion that we adopt it.
Thank you. Is there a seconder for that? Seconded by Councillor Croft. Thank you. And this doesn't need further, it's a policy. So if we vote to for that this evening or this afternoon by motion, it would be adopted. Is that correct, Ms. Renton?
That is correct, Your Worship. And in the process, it will have the effect of repealing certain policies and bylaws, or commencing the bylaw repeal process, which is a little more procedural in nature.
So is there any further discussion, comments on this particular policy? There isn't any. All in favor of adoption? Opposed? Councillor Risser is in opposition, but the motion is carried and the policy is approved.
Also,
Then-
your worship, item
Yes.
4.
Yes,
I'd like to make a motion for a first reading to repeal bylaw number 5, which was replaced by the policy we just adopted earlier. So I would move that repeal.
thank you. And seconded, moved by the Deputy Mayor and seconded by Councillor Croft. Is there any discussion required for this? Thought not. So all in favor of the repeal of bylaw number 5? And it is unanimous. So the motion is approved or carried, and that will then move forward as well with public notification and appear in an upcoming agenda. Proposed amendments to policy number 18, town-sponsored events.
Your worship, I would move the approval of the amendments to policy number 18.
Thank you. Is there a seconder? Seconded by Councillor Risser. Thank you. And the amendments are noted in the copy that was circulated in the agenda. Or is there any further discussion on the amendments to this particular policy? No, a motion to approve then would put that policy as amended into effect. So all in favor? And it is unanimously carried, so that motion is carried and the policy is thus amended and will be put into service. Policy number 84, counselors' recognition of service, the discussion for this. And I would ask if the Deputy Mayor would assume the chair for this discussion. And I will step away from the virtual chair and turn the discussion lead over to you, Deputy Mayor.
Okay. Having a little trouble moving around in the agenda since the bookmarks don't seem to be correct somehow. But
Would you like me
discussion.
to, oh, sorry.
Sorry, B.
I just wondered if you wanted me to, if that was the case, if you wanted me to just read aloud the policy. It's quite brief. Oh, and I
Yeah,
think
no,
Heather's
that-
just brought it up on the screen.
No, that's fine. I meant to bring up usually you can jump back and forth between the agenda and the items, but without all the bookmarks in there, it's a little tougher. So no, we're just looking for a motion now to approve the policy. Thank you.
Or to how you will apply it in this instance, because we have 2 people that are not returning. Your worship. So there would be Councillor Croft and the mayor, and how they might be considered under this policy.
Might be more than that. We got to be careful.
That's right. So, so I guess B, and even to Rachel, I mean, are we looking then to discuss this as whether this is appropriate or what we actually want to do in these cases?
Yeah, that is my understanding. So presently, the policy would indicate that if you've served a full term in office and you're not, in this case, you're not a declared candidate, you would be presented with a gift. Typically, in the first instance, one term, it would be a flag or a gift of equivalent value. And a flag is worth approximately, it's just less than $100. And it would be presented at a council meeting or in the council chamber before the end of their term. And anybody who served more than 2 terms in office, so that would be the case of Councillor Croft and the mayor, that they may receive additional recognition in exceptional circumstances as council determines. I know the mayor is interested in some historic hooks from the Lunenburg Academy, and it was just thought that under section 1.2 of the procedural policy, it would be helpful to talk about that, so that council made a decision in open session as to what would be appropriate under the circumstances, which is particularly challenging during this pandemic, but that it would be appropriate to recognize their service.
Councillor Risser?
Thank you, worship. I think it's perfectly appropriate to recognize their service at council's discretion. I'm wondering if staff have a recommendation as to what would be suitable or conventional.
This is a relatively new policy, your worship, and I know I've spoken with the mayor. There was interest in, as I mentioned, some hooks from the academy. I think just about a half dozen of those, and beyond that, I don't know. Otherwise, there would be the flag or a gift of equivalent value. So I don't have any particular instructions from either individual. I have not spoken with Councillor Croft about it.
Councillor Risser again.
Well, generally, correct me if I'm wrong, B, what we do for retiring staff is a photo of the town, correct?
Yes, that's right. And the balance based on a financial and years calculation in a local restaurant gift certificate.
Well, then I suggest we do the same for council and throw in the hooks for free. However you want to write that up in a motion, by all means.
Mm-hmm.
I'd second that. Sounds reasonable.
Okay, so we have Ronnie, please.
Again, I have no problem with that, but I think with the possibility that town staff sort of get to choose their gift as part of the monetary value. So I think we should give both Councillor Croft and the mayor the opportunity to have a small input into what they may wish to receive as a gift from the town as part of the monetary value. With their input, I think would certainly be appropriate.
B, if I'm correct, it's like the monetary value is just determined by, by their vested, their number of years. And so based on that value, then you could ask them if they want something. It's what you do now, isn't it? You ask them if they would like something specific, like a golf club membership or whatever, if they have the years of service to cover that. And if they don't have any specific requests, do you just give them the cash then, or?
So in the case of someone who is observing an anniversary but not retiring, we do there are various provision. They don't really equate well to this. When someone retires, it's a year of service calculation for a gift. And I'm not sure how much it would amount to in this instance. Because often we have people that retire after 30 years or something, but we could figure that out. And then, yes, they are asked specifically what kind of gift item they would like purchased from that amount of money. And then that's presented to them at a retirement event. Is that, you're trying to equate the monetary value for staff to council? Is that what you'd like us to do?
That was the motion that was made, but
Okay.
but I'm not sure that that's what we want to do, but Matt?
Okay.
Thank you, Worship. Given that one of us at least is going to be involuntarily retired, and perhaps more than one, I'd suggest that we also might want to extend that to everyone who doesn't come back. Because the non-returning does not specify retiring or not rerunning. And the only person whom that doesn't apply to is me, because I'm the only one who hasn't served a full term.
You know, the first question, which is the motion on the floor, do we want to treat retiring council members the same as staff? So let's deal with that first, and then we can talk about, you know, if that's a given, then it narrows things down a bit. So,
Well, I think it can be a little more personalized, I would think. It may depend, I mean, someone might be very, very active as opposed to someone that isn't, it would all depend on the individual. And, I don't know, I think this is, I think this needs a little more thought maybe for the individuals.
I agree.
And, and maybe we could just have either a special meeting on this, or we could do something, with regard to each individual and the circumstances that may come forward. And as Councilor Risser said, I mean, there is pending, well, let's be real, between one of you two guys are not going to be here, all right? And potentially two other guys could or could not be here, right? So yeah, I think that needs to have a little more thought. That's something I think staff should flesh out a little bit more for us, especially in this situation. We're going to have quite a turnover, and have some suggestions, and maybe we can give it a little more thought and then come to a conclusion.
The policy that's before us now basically says that council will determine later on, what the appreciation gift is going to be. So, however, we do have a motion on the floor. So, and the motion was to treat retiring council members the same as staff. So let's discuss that and deal with it, and then let's go from there. Danny, you want to throw something in?
I just want to step aside from this discussion. Thank you.
Okay. Let's see. We still have a quorum. We're good. Ronnie?
For me, the biggest point that I thought would be appropriate would be that for both Councillor Croft and Mayor Bailey to have a little bit of input into the gift that they would receive. For myself, if, fate, I don't get back, a flag would be I'd be more than happy to accept a flag and be quite happy to move on. But where certainly Councillor Croft has served over 20 years, and the mayor has in total served the town for three terms, I think it'll be nice for them to at least have a little bit of input into what they would receive, if there was anything special they would personally like.
Peter, please.
Yeah, I echo those sentiments. I think that's, I do think it has to be maybe a little more thought put in it. And even if council determines what that monetary value is, and then, we can go accordingly, like, for years of service and the dedication of service too, I think has a weight in that as well.
Deputy Mayor, would you like us to prepare sort of an analysis for each person, how they would be treated under sort of a similar approach to the staff retirement policy? You may also want to add into the mix the issue of in the case of the mayor, the town issued iPhone and iPad, and the iPad in the case of any counselors who are not returning. There's a market value of approximately $100 for a used iPad of the vintage that you have, because we purchased replacement upgraded iPads for the newly elected council. So that might be something as well that you'd like to roll in to any kind of gift retirement consideration.
Let's deal with the motion that's on the floor, and then we'll see where that goes. And if that, well, let's see where that goes first. So any other discussion on that motion? There being none, we're ready for the question. All in favor of, and the motion, B, can you read back the motion?
So I have moved by Councillor Risser, seconded by Councillor Mosier, to provide the retiring council members with a town photo and a town restaurant gift certificate, with the mayor also receiving some Lunenburg Academy coat hooks based on a similar method of calculating the gift value as compared to retiring staff.
Okay, all in favor? Opposed? Oh, one in favor. Opposed? Motion's defeated. So can we move back to the policy that's on the table then? Which would, yeah, Matt, did you want to throw something in?
Why don't we just defer this until staff can come up with a solution? So we're not talking about it for 20 minutes. It's a fairly minor thing to occupy this much time in a council meeting.
Yeah, I'm fine with that. I think the motion though is like the policy, I think sort of gives them that flexibility, does it not? So can we just pass?
Well, it's
the
actually at the discretion of council, but I'd be very pleased to prepare something in consultation with council members and senior staff, by all means.
Okay.
And we'll put that forward for your next meeting.
So we'll move on then. Yeah, we all like that, yeah. Okay, now, does Rachel come back now?
Sure.
I think Rachel can come back now. Thank you.
Thank you. Took me a minute to get myself back. So thank you for assuming the chair for that discussion. And next on the agenda is the NSFM Long Service Award applications. And this was just here as a matter of course, just to double check, I think. Not sure if, I know, I believe the deputy mayor was recognized in recent years for years of service, as I know I was, and Councillor Croft was last year or in recent years. But the process and the form are there for everyone's review, and it is up to each individual who recognizes their own years of service to apply. So I think we can probably just leave it at that, unless there are questions or opportunity for more discussion, interest in more discussion. Okay, I don't see any indication, so that's there for information at this stage. Next, under the final thing, I think, under corporate, oh no, one more, is the Bruno's Coastal Action Foundation board membership and bylaw update letter. And so there was reason for consideration here with Bruno's Coastal Action Foundation and their change in bylaws and what that has would mean for appointments, members of council to their board. And it is for our information and application as would be appropriate. Discussion on that. I know several of you, I have not, had not in my terms served as a representative, but I know a number of you at the table now, our virtual table, have served on that board. And perhaps you'd like to comment on this new development. Yes, Deputy Mayor.
Your Worship, I think it's a good thing for them to do. You know, I think some of the people, including myself, you know, attended the meetings, but really didn't get too involved in fundraising events and that kind of thing, which is what they really need in the way of a board. And so I think this is a good move on their part. I think it involves a policy change somewhere where we talk about external board appointments, and this is on that list. So I'm not sure which policy it is, but it is mentioned in some policy that we will appoint somebody. So I guess it would be a notice of motion that we remove you know, that appointment from the list. B, is that appropriate?
I think you read our minds, and it has been deleted from that new committee's policy. Yeah, you're absolutely right.
Thank you.
Just going to double check to see if we had ultimately removed that from the chart or not, but it was the policy committees of council policy that we just approved. The change has been made.
Yeah, maybe I saw it on.
That is correct, Your Worship. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, no, the deputy mayor is absolutely correct. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks. Yes, Councillor Mosier.
Yeah, I think also it will make for a stronger board for their organization. However, though, I did really enjoy being on that committee with them and on that board through the council, and it is a good group of it's a good organization to do good things, and it is nice to stay in touch with them. And if I would certainly encourage a council member to be in that organization, because it's very community minded, and just and it's helpful for council to know as well. So
They are a valuable organization to partner with, as we have done in the past. And I certainly hope we will take advantage of future opportunities that present themselves, that future councils will take opportunity to align themselves and work with the Blue Nose Coastal Action Foundation. They've been wonderful tenants, they've been wonderful partners, and they're a top-notch organization that does very good work. So if there isn't any more on that, I think we've put that one to rest with the change to our own policy, and wish them well. And so we can move on to the I guess 9th item under this section, Planning Advisory Committee Citizen Appointment Vacancy. And there was a resignation of a council candidate, Susan Stanford, from this committee. And there was some, I think, confusion about whether or not the resignation was necessary, but it was made nonetheless. And so there are, right, we did just have, I was thinking we had another vacancy, but that's right. We just filled one with Jack Strobridge, but now we have another vacancy on that committee.
So, Your Worship, I just wanted to note that the returning officer was initially of the understanding that it was required under the Municipal Election Act, and any other town committee members that were offering for council. The legislative change is confusing, and he recently clarified with Ms. Sanford that she did not have to actually resign. She could continue to serve, but she decided nonetheless to resign from the committee. And I was just apprised of that yesterday.
Okay, thank you. Yes, Councillor Risser.
Thank you, Worship. Well, given the number of members that are still on the committee and the fact that we're having an election soon, I think this can be deferred until after the election.
I can appreciate that line of thinking, and I guess I'm just wondering the fact that the Planning Advisory Committee has this very significant role to play in the and is a committee that has some provincial legislation or obligation. I believe Ms. Renton perhaps can clarify that, but and has significant work to do. There will be delays in this work undoubtedly with election and new councillors, but there may, I'm not sure that additional delay would serve anyone well. Yes, Councillor Risser.
Well, then perhaps there's no harm in advertising now and just making the appointment the next term.
That I think there might be some value in that personally, yes. So thanks for putting that as an option. So I guess maybe would you put that in the form of a motion, Councillor Risser? And then we can.
Sure, I'll move that staff advertise for the vacancy to be appointed after the new council is elected.
Okay. Is there a seconder for that? Councillor Croft, I see, and Councillor Bachman as well, but will Councillor Croft seconds. Any further discussion? Okay, all in favor? Any opposed? Councillor Bachman, was that a question that I may have missed before the vote?
Just wondering if it would be, not wishing Ms. Sanford any undue bad luck or anything, but would she still be allowed to pursue the position if she would not be elected to council? Would she be able to put her name forth afterwards, or how does that fall? And if she missed the deadline, depends on when the deadline is for the application. Just wondering how that may or may not work.
Good. I don't know if Ms. Renton wants to speak to that first and then to Councillor
Right.
Croft, but there probably could be, we could make allowance for that, I would expect, because that's a good point. There may be any of the candidates who are running may, and if they're not successful in seeking obtaining a council seat, may choose to, or I would think, welcome an application to a committee. So we certainly wouldn't want to bypass that opportunity to make good use of their valued service. So Ms. Renton, did you want to speak further?
Yeah, again, that's absolutely correct, Your Worship. Yep, they could be considered for reappointment if they chose, to offer up. Yep.
Councillor Croft, did you have further question?
Sure, thanks, Your Worship. I would think that with a new election that there'll be a lot of people that'll have to be advertised for different committees. So I think it should be probably one ad for the number of people that are required. So it won't be just for this one position. I think there'll be probably several vacancies, if I'm not wrong. I could be wrong, but.
Well, it may be something we want to discuss or for staff to give some advice on if need be with respect to the timing. I think the new year is typically when new calendar year is kind of when appointments come up for renewal. Is that sort of correct? And then, so timing it with that maybe, or leaving it open so that that may well fall within the time frame that a new council would be prepared to make appointments.
Right. Well, we've just adopted that committee policy, as you'll recall, Your Worship, that sets out the various terms. Council could decide to revisit at the start of their term to reconfirm them. Typically, these appointments, though, for the citizens last until the end of the calendar year.
Mm-hmm.
So, not sure what you want to do. If
some are multi-year appointments and some are
as well. Yep.
So that's true. So perhaps in setting out an ad, there would be some review of whether there's others that are imminent, and we could sort of schedule accordingly as far as advertising is concerned. Is that fair, Ms. Renton?
Yes, it is. I would encourage you, though, to advertise the vacancy now. It can be quite complicated if we try and delay the advertisement and consolidate it with other potential vacancies. I think it's better just to look at it as an ongoing continuum of appointments, as people for varying reasons have to resign from committees and new appointments are required.
Okay. So the motion is to move ahead with the advertising for the vacancy. And we've discussed sort of all of that might go into that, but it would be to go ahead, I guess, at staff's discretion, but to not hold back on it. And we need to vote on that. Is that correct, Ms. Renton? And do you want to
That is right.
recite the motion as it stands?
Moved by Councillor Risser, seconded by Councillor Croft, that staff advertise for the Planning Advisory Committee vacancy to be appointed by the next council.
All right, ready for the question on that? All in favor? And no one, it is unanimous, so the motion is carried. Thank you very much. Next is under public work. Oh, this isn't bolded, so I better jump to the, if I will leave that next item on the agenda so we can get to ensure we get through our bolded items. And I am assuming that the item we added with respect to arena opening is a bolded item as well. So the next item I would move to is, or call your attention to, is 8A, and that's the Comprehensive Community Plan Steering Team on June 10, July 8, and August 12th, and September 16th meeting minutes, which were carried over from some other meetings, and also the recommendation, which I will look to Councillor Risser to bring forward.
Thank you, Worship. We now have a final draft of the comprehensive community plan, as you all know, and the steering team met on September 16th to determine whether or not to recommend that to council. They recommended that unanimously, so I'm bringing forward the recommendation. So I would move to recommend that council approve the draft comprehensive plan dated the 4th of September 2020, subject to the following amendments being made: 1, minor editing; 2, inclusion of the chart entitled; and 3, inclusion of an executive summary, some of which I believe is available in the package. So I would move that, and I'm sure Dawn and Stefan will want to speak to it briefly before we get going with discussion.
Okay, is there a seconder for that motion of recommendation? Councillor Mosier, thank you. So we could, Councillor Risser, you indicated that perhaps there would be some further comment from our consultant team and or Ms. Sutherland on this. Hello, Dawn.
Hi. Yes, Your Worship. I have a little bit to say more to put it in context, and I see Erica Brooke and Stefan was here of Upland that would like to speak to it and answer any questions. We will try to be brief. It's been a long time. We've been working on this. So as you recall, back in 2018, we had a national competition. So it was advertised right across Canada, and we had applicants from across Canada. And the contract was awarded to Upland. And Upland is a planning and design firm out of Dartmouth. A little bit about Upland. They have a big team, and I've contracted to a lot of subcontractors that have actually worked for the town in the past. They have just won, congratulations, an award of excellence from the landscape architects in 2020, and have won, I think, 4 or 5 awards of planning excellence from the Atlantic Planners Institute. So very good firm. They did a fantastic submission. So we awarded the contract just before Christmas in 2018, and we've gone through a lot of research and engagement and drafting of the comprehensive community plan, which we all know is a holistic plan aimed at guiding decisions and actions for our future. And one of our committee members put it that, this is a plan for the community. Peter Goforth said it's a plan for now into 40 years into the future. And I think that's a great way to think about it. It's an enduring plan for 40 years. It has periodic check-ins and its implementation to ensure that it remains relevant. So it's not a plan that you put on the shelf and wait 40 years and then it expires. It's a living document. It's not a planning document in terms of our municipal planning strategy. It's not that. It's an overreaching plan that all the other plans will be in alignment with. So the comprehensive community plan will become the town's strategic plan. So everything will be in keeping with the CCP, Community Comprehensive Plan, if it's adopted, hopefully. How is this? How is the oversight of this huge Project Lunenburg, dealt with? Council appointed members to a steering team, and their role is quality control. So members of the steering team provide advice on how to improve the process and how to make it a better document, such as the last one of the comments, and it's in the amendment, to add a chart in the implementation so it's easier to read. What the steering team doesn't do is they don't approve the content of it. So it's an independent work by the consultant. I'd like to thank all the members of the steering team. They've gone above and beyond what has been asked of them. They attended community meetings and volunteered as facilitators, delivered and carried out surveys. And most importantly, all of our members have acted as champions of Project Lunenburg in their community and their organization. So I thank them for that. Their oversight will continue throughout the remainder of the project, which will be for the supporting documents, the municipal planning strategy, the land use bylaw, and the subdivision bylaw. One of the roles of the steering team was to provide a recommendation to council on the plan, and you have that before them. In terms of process, and I know I'm talking fast because you don't have a lot of time, should this plan be approved, Upland will go away for 3 months and they will write our planning documents. So our municipal planning strategy, our land use bylaw, and our subdivision bylaw. Then it comes back into our statutory process under the Planning Advisory Committee. So it'll go to the Planning Advisory Committee. It'll have a public information meeting or another one, as many as we need. And then it'll go back and for the approval process through the MGA. So it has to do, first reading, public hearing, second reading and approval. So that takes time as well. So that's what comes next. Should we approve the CCP this today, it will go away for writing of the MPS and LUB, and we'll be into that phase then. So I will stop and let Stefan, who is a partner at Upland, give an overview of the CCP.
Hold on, I'm just gonna try and share my screen. Can everybody see the yellow poster? Yeah, great. Your Worship, members of Council, thank you for inviting Eric Kirkbrook and myself today to present to you the Project Lunenburg Comprehensive Community Plan. Before we get started, we would like to express our gratitude to the Project Lunenburg Steering Committee, to municipal staff, and to the citizens of Lunenburg who inspired and really pushed our consulting team to write a plan that we believe deserves to be called comprehensive. Over the last 18 months, we have learned that Lunenburg is a very, very engaged, very vocal, and very creative community. And we think you see this reflected in this plan. It is a plan authored by Lunenburg citizens to be used by its citizens and was competently guided by a committee of citizens. For over a year and a half, Project Lunenburg brought people in the community together to define the community's goals and aspirations and to chart a course that will have community efforts moving in the same direction, contributing to a shared vision for the future. The comprehensive community plan has been founded on strong data analysis, extensive community stakeholder engagement, and a framework that will enable the town to realistically and responsibly achieve its goals. This plan provides guidance for most aspects of the community: land use, housing, transportation, the environment, and many other elements that affect the daily lives of residents and visitors in the town. Because this plan is rooted in the long-term development and sustainability of Lunenburg, it does not provide a prescriptive set of policies and recommendations. Rather, it establishes a set of strategic directions and possible mechanisms to achieve them, while also allowing room for adaptation over time. The comprehensive community plan will be implemented in stages, with consideration for the coming 40 years. However, as the scope of the plan encompasses every aspect of community life, the actions recommended within this plan will be executed and implemented through a phased approach. But before we begin to describe the plan's recommendations in more detail, Erica Brook will speak about the way Project Lunenburg engaged with the citizens of Lunenburg during the creation of the comprehensive plan.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for inviting us to this conversation today. I'll just, I think, add a few more points around some of the details of the engagement, as well as, of course, the higher level themes. As you know, over the course of a number of months, those things sort of fade away in memory somewhat. So you'll recall that there were a series of community workshops. We had a launch last February of 2019 with over 100 participants. And then there were 7 more thematic workshops between February of 2019 and February of 2020. So each workshop attracted some recurring attendees. There were some Project Lunenburg faithfuls, but there were also new faces at each meeting. So all in all, we estimate that approximately 400 different people attended one of the in-person workshops over the course of the year. So we also had a number of surveys as well as interactive maps throughout the course of the project. The most important survey was the individual overarching survey, which ran from February to April of 2019. That survey had 262 respondents, 200 of which indicated that they were a resident of the town, resulting in approximately 9% of the town's total population participating in that survey, which is very exceptional. So more than 50% of those respondents, again, had been living in the town for 11 or more years, while 31% of respondents indicated that they'd been living there for fewer than 5 years. So we saw a really great mix through that survey, and then throughout participation of people who had been spending many years living in Lunenburg and had seen changes over the past decade or two, and then folks who were newer. So those surveys collected information about just generally opportunities, strengths, weaknesses of the town. And then the social pinpoint gathered all that rich spatial information that we were able to use throughout this plan. In addition to those general surveys, there were also topic-specific surveys on housing, which received 255 respondents. There were also 100 responses to an arts and cultural survey, and approximately 50 responses to intercept surveys with visitors on the waterfront. So we also did a bit of targeted engagement. We had 25 focus groups or stakeholder interviews held with major employers, community organizations, youth in the community, as well as pop-ups in the summer of 2019, where we talked to a wide range of folks, visitors, residents of the town, residents of the surrounding area, to get their input as well. So to wrap up the plan, to develop the draft, present it, and gather feedback on this plan itself, there were 3 online public presentations and question and answer events. So that phase of the project was primarily done after COVID had begun. So through March, June, and July, we did those online engagements. There was also a summary video presentation that was visible on the project website. It's still there and can remain on the key directions, the big sort of directions of the plan, and that has so far had about 300 views. And so throughout the highly detailed phase of drafting this document, we had about 100 people participating. So it is anticipated that we would see a little drop off from the formative engagement to the that stage where we're really drafting it and getting into the nitty gritty. But so still 100 people at that level of detail the whole way is very special for a community engagement on something like this. So. The next steps for engagement, we'll need to focus on how to continually engage with citizens. So, as we did with the development of this plan, the implementation will also need to be a shared effort with the community, with participatory processes, with stakeholders and community, just members of the community that are enabled by the town. So, just a few, I think the key themes from the engagement are best reflected and summarized in the guiding principles for the plan. So we won't go through all those. The content of the plan, as you know, is dense, but there's these 9 guiding principles that are the overarching, really the overarching direction for the plan, the thing that's going to ring the most true for the next 20, 40 years around inclusion, being adaptable to change and incremental in approach, collaborative relationships, environmental protection, and so on. So those 9 guiding principles in the first, 10 pages 10 through 13 of the plan. Those are essential statements that summarize, what is most important to the community looking out over the next 40 years. So the next thing that Stefan and I just want to touch on is a bit about the implementation. That's always where the devil is in the details of implementation. So we imagine, that this plan does not have your to-dos for the next 40 years all plotted out. Just follow this direct course of action. As one member of the community told us in the feedback on the draft, an elderly member of the community said, well, have fun planning. The circumstances that present themselves will dictate the future. So that, that's the other side of this coin, that, the best laid plans are always going to need to respond to what emerges and how the needs and priorities shift. So we think that the implementation chapter should be approached with that philosophy. And so we've recommended that a series of actions be prioritized every 5 years. And so we've gone through this evaluation process to prioritize for the first 5 years, and have identified 35 actions for that time frame. So these actions were determined through an evaluation process that considered 6 criteria, and that scoring matrix is an appendix that will go on to be used by the town in one version every year for setting specific action items, and then in another version every 5 years for thinking big picture at what needs to be that midterm. So the criteria involved capacity building within the community, what the community benefit will be, equity benefit, the immediacy of the impacts. Will we be able to feel what's happened in the shorter term or the longer term, that kind of thing. The community desire factor is where we've really focused on the results from the public engagement and the feedback on the draft plan. And then the last criteria is fundamentals. So looking at what is a precondition to enable the implementation of further actions. And then each of these criteria used a range of weighted values and was scored according to a qualitative description. And so all of those criteria are elaborated on in the beginning of the implementation chapter. So those are the big things that I thought I should highlight for you today. And Stefan is going to take back over and just provide a little bit more information about those 35 key actions that we've recommended, or those 35 key actions that came out of the prioritization process.
Yeah, thank you, Erica. So for those of you who made it through the 180 pages of reading, there is you will have seen in the implementation chapter at the back that we've included action sheets. So those outline essentially the process for implementing those 35 priority action items with details on cost, steps, and potential purpose. Those action items included were in some cases amalgamations of multiple CCP recommendations. The priority action items included in that sections have been adjusted to best reflect groupings which follow a clear and distinct implementation process. There are evaluation metrics included in that in each subsection as well, intended to measure those prioritized actions against the goal for a topic. The evaluation metrics should be collected and analyzed on an ongoing or annual basis, which reflects the importance of consistent data collection and data sharing. Also included in the implementation chapter is a matrix, which can be used by the town to score and prioritize potential projects on an annual basis. So the 35 action items are distributed across a range of CCP topics. We have 2 items under community structure, 5 items under housing, 3 action items under servicing and facilities, 2 under mobility, 3 under economic development, 3 under heritage, 3 under urban design, and 4 under environment and sustainability, 5 under culture and recreation, and 5 under governance. Of course, the very first action flowing from the comprehensive community plan will be the creation of the new municipal planning strategy, land use bylaw, and subdivision bylaw, on which Dawn has touched already. Your worship, members of council, the town of Lunenburg took a very bold step when embarking on a comprehensive community plan, rather than simply reviewing its municipal planning strategy and land use bylaw. In doing so, we believe the town of Lunenburg has raised the bar for community planning in Nova Scotia. Comprehensive community planning is a holistic process undertaken with broad community participation. It is a process that doesn't reward shortcuts, a process that requires determination, dedication, and patience. We would like to thank you for your patience and for including us in your journey. It's been a real pleasure to get to work in your community, and we really look forward to embarking on the next few months of work to provide the town with land use planning documents that reflect the vision of the comprehensive community plan. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for giving us an overview and a review in some cases of the process and what you've undertaken. I'd like to echo the sentiments that have already been expressed a couple of times, but I think it bears repeating. A huge thank you to our steering team of volunteer committee members who really have gone above and beyond and working very hard to, alongside our consultants who've worked very hard to produce this comprehensive community plan. And I bet Stefan and Erica know way more about Lunenburg than they ever thought they would and maybe wanted to, but it's been a long process. We do have a motion on the floor with a recommendation. Yes, Councillor Risser, did you want to speak further?
Thank you, Worship. Just to say that, since everybody's been thanking the steering team, I think on behalf of the steering team, it's only appropriate that I thank council and town staff and Upland and all the other people who went above and beyond the call in supporting us in doing our work and supporting the community and coming up with this plan.
Thank you. Well said. So I guess by a matter of course, we have a motion. I'm not sure how much discussion following this presentation we want to embark on. And we are into our second hour. So I'm looking to council as to whether or not you'd like to break before further discussion, or if you'd like to continue on with this and see it through before
Let's
taking a
see it
break.
through. I'd vote to see it through.
Okay, well, I see if there's no objection to that, and I can't quite see everybody. Now I can, I think. If there's no objection to that, then we'll carry on with this discussion and look to recess as soon as it's concluded. So the motion is to approve the draft comprehensive community plan. and I take it we're taking this motion right from the recommendation that's before us, and there are some blanks to be filled in. And I know that there's also an updated version, not the 4th of September, but I think it's the 18th of September, the latest version. So we might want to, at the very minimum, have the motion reflect the new date. And if minor editing has been done, or if there's clarification as to whether that's complete, and inclusion of the chart entitled, I believe there's something to be filled in there as well. So look to Councilor Risser or the consulting team to answer those questions or confirm or clarify.
I'll go ahead and clarify. Yeah, we submitted a revised version on Friday at 11:45 in the morning. So it had the updated table, the edits they were minor edits, just essentially copy edits, and as well as one outstanding deliverable, a poster that summarized sort of the key components of the plan. So those were all. Those are all in the version now that you have.
So then we could just change the date and eliminate the 3 subsidiary aspects. So the September 18th draft, full stop.
I think that would be accurate, yes.
And can I clarify too, the executive summary that's noted there would be that initial page with the chart and explanatory notes?
Yes, we were advised to do something visual by the committee in place of a conventional written executive summary. So that is what the executive summary represents.
Okay. All right. Are there further questions and I can't see John on this screen. Yes, sorry. So he may have been waving away. Yes, okay. You're the only one I couldn't see. So yes, did you comments, questions?
Story of my life. Actually, I've got a number of comments I want to make on the plan. I think it's a really good document. I think it'll be a very valuable tool and a guide over the next number of years. I can think back to processes that we've had which were maybe similar, but nowhere near the extent of the community, of the comprehensive plan. But we did sort of similar things in 2008, 2010, 2012. And then we spent 2 years developing that strategic plan. And this community plan encompasses a lot of those ideas. And what I really like is that it consolidates almost all of our previous thinking and then presents a number of new ideas as well. Now, I'm told that some of these new ideas, and I raised the question a couple of times, that some of the ideas that are in here are not realistic at the moment, the way that, just financially or otherwise, and some of them aren't even legal, but the idea being that if it's over 40 years that, as situation changes, maybe they do become more realistic. But I'm not sure we should be approving the plan. I think we should be accepting it. That similar to what we would do with like recent reports like the CBCL report on wastewater treatment plant, or recently the cultural action plan, the waste reduction strategy, or even back to the 2009, the traffic study. We didn't approve them, we accepted them. And then, we would use them as a guide when we had issues around, what those reports dealt with. And so I think that any of the actions that come out of any of these plans still have to come back to council for approval. So I'm not sure we're approving the plan rather than just saying, hey, great job, we accept the plan and we'll use it as a guide in the future. So I suggest that the draft plan we accept as a finalized report, and we suggest that Uplands continue to develop the municipal planning strategy, the land use bylaw, and the subdivision. So, I don't like the idea of approving it, but I do like the idea of accepting it.
Okay, can I ask that the screen be changed so that I can see all members of council at the same time? Thank you very much. And Councillor Risser, you'd like to speak to that?
Thank you, Your Worship. The only point that I would note, and I'd look to staff to weigh in, but all the reports that Councillor McGee mentioned were sort of external reports that were recommending that we do something from external bodies. And this is an internal report, but I have no trouble accepting the plan as it is right now and deferring it for approval to the next council.
Yes, Councillor or Deputy Mayor.
Well, I'm not sure what to do now. Like, I guess I was, so are you changing the motion or withdrawing it, or?
Nope, the motion is on the floor as it stands.
So would that include like a review of the plan by staff then as well, or, where does it go from here? Uplands continues with the development of the land use bylaw, et cetera. But what do we do with it? With staff? Do we review it with staff or leave it for the next council?
Well, staff have reviewed it on a number of occasions. I don't think.
Very cursory review by staff.
Yeah, well, I mean, we've been at it a year and a half. So I mean, we can approve it today, or we can, I'm happy if somebody wants to make a motion to defer it to the next council. I'd be happy to vote in favor of that.
So just to clarify, so the motion is now to approve. That is what the recommendation was. So that is what the motion is.
Right. And directing Your Worship, the consultants to prepare the municipal planning strategy, land use bylaw, and subdivision bylaw based on that document. And one may say that you don't want to presuppose what the public submissions on those documents would be. So perhaps accepting the document or receiving the document at this point in time would be more appropriate, so you don't lock yourself into future public hearing processes.
I see that as a very valid point, in that what this comprehensive community plan is a plan that's been got copious amounts of information and tons of public input, but it's not been through a formal process that is like that which is required for our municipal planning strategy and land use bylaw. And those have legislative requirements that we're obliged to follow, and lack of bias is paramount in going through those processes. And so we wouldn't want to, this is very important information to inform the development of those planning tools. But I don't think, I mean, Erica, as she said herself, it's a very dense document. It's also, the devil is in the details. There are portions of this document that frankly, I don't quite understand. I don't fully understand the implementation plan that's been there. There are pieces of it that I would want to have explained to me if I were to be in the position of having to use them, which I likely will not be, but still it's very comprehensive means of determining a plan forward for 5 years, but it's perhaps not all inclusive. I look at the one of the items on our agenda for today, which we skipped over, was the discussion about expanding our natural watershed, which was included in the comprehensive community plan discussions and was one of the things that was identified, but it was not included in the 5-year priority plan. So I would not want us to dismiss, or a future council to dismiss, the importance of looking at that particular very vital, perhaps more vital than any other service that we provide, is clean drinking water. That's just an observation about the opportunity for further review. I think is really helpful, and this is a great document as a resource, but I'm not sure that I would be prepared to approve it as is without further review. Yes, Deputy Mayor.
Your Worship, I think it's really important that Uplands continue on with the preparation of a land use bylaw, et cetera, based on the plan as presented today. And if we have to, if changes get made to the plan over the next while, then maybe we have to make corresponding changes to, the land use bylaw and so on. But I think it's important that they continue on. And I think if Matt is prepared to change the word approve to accept, then I think we just go ahead with that. So.
I appreciate what you're saying, and I would just echo that it is vitally important that the consultants be given the opportunity to complete the scope of work that they've been hired to do, which is produce a draft update of the municipal planning strategy and land use bylaw and subdivision bylaw, and that this document that so much time and energy has gone into should definitely inform that process. And so it should go, they should go ahead based on information that they've garnered from the community by going through this process. And but it very well could be that the formal processes of approval for those documents actually impact this document and result in changes being made to the comprehensive community plan. So I just think it's a flexible document and needs to be used in as dictated by what happens. Again, as was mentioned earlier, it needs to be a living document. Yes, Councillor Risser.
Well, based on the concerns, I am willing to suggest that we move to accept this report, that we direct Upland to draft the MPS and the LUB and subsidiary documents on that basis, and that approval of this report and those documents be deferred until after the election.
And there was a seconder to the recommendation. Yes, Councillor Mosier. So, and you would be, the thumbs up is that you're fine with that change in language. So Ms. Renton, is that reflected in how you would capture the motion?
Right, if you can just give me 1 second, Your Worship, I'll read it back to you. So moved by Councillor Risser, seconded by Councillor Mosier to accept the draft comprehensive community plan dated September 18, 2020, and direct the consultants to prepare the municipal planning strategy, I should say the draft municipal planning strategy, land use bylaw, and subdivision bylaw, and that approval of this document and the subsequent planning documents be deferred for consideration by the next council.
I think it goes without saying that last part, but if you feel it needs to be captured in motion, then that's fine.
Yeah, well, I would agree with you. Just for clarification, I guess. I can eliminate that if that would be helpful.
I think it should stay.
Okay, if we're clear on that, and any further comment, Councillor Croft, Councillor Bachman. No. All right, are we ready for the question then on the amended motion? All in favor? Motion is carried unanimously, and we accept the document, and we thank all of those involved very much. And I will, we will now break for our recess and reconvene at 3:33, please. Hello, everyone. Looks like we're back or on the way back. Councillor Mosier, just wait till I know that he's online. We're just at 3:33. Here we go. And Ms. Renton, are you with us?
Yes, I am, Your Worship.
Very good, thank you. So I will reconvene the meeting officially then, and we'll continue on with our agenda as we've left off. And that is moving through the bolded items first. And so we have two bolded items coming still under the committee meeting minutes, recommendations, reports, and notices of motion. So I will ask the deputy mayor to take the chair again, because I'm going to step away from this next item with respect to a recommendation for a nomination of a sport team for recognition. And as a member of the team in question, I want to declare perceived interest in this discussion, and just want to point out that was a member of the team, but it was a member of a team. It was a lot of local athletes, and I was just one of the Lunenburg Lasers. So having said that, I will vacate the chair and turn things over to Deputy Mayor McGee.
I was going to ask you, Rachel, why are you declaring an interest? But you answered it for me before asking. So do we have enough time to deal with this? Would anybody like to make a motion? Ron, thank you. Danny seconded, thank you. Any discussion? There being none, ready for the question? All in favor? Sorry?
Sorry, I beg your pardon. Who seconded them?
Councillor Croft.
Thank you very much.
Yes. Okay. Ready for the question? All in favor? Congratulations. Okay, you can come back now.
Thanks, John. Thanks. I just think it's just, it seemed a bit self-serving, and but certainly having Mr. Sayre bring this up after many, many years is certainly a wonderful opportunity, I think, for recognition for the town. And the town was very supportive of the team over its years of existence. So I think that's going to go forward with Ms. Cunningham's help. So Ms. Cunningham will be the subject of attention again with this next item, which it's just where I've placed our added item with respect to the arena reopening and the new information that we obtained very late, the end of Friday last week, I think. And certainly an area of concern in the community about what is happening with the opening of our arena. So perhaps I can ask Ms. Cunningham, who's joined us, to just speak to the new information we received and what the options are in light of that. So go ahead, Ms. Cunningham.
Thank you, Your Worship. In the afternoon of Friday, September the 18th, the provincial government announced an increase of the allowable numbers for participants in performing arts, sports, and organized physical activity. Effective October 1st, the number of people who can participate in one of these activities without physical distancing will increase from 10 to 50. For most sports, this will allow full team practices and competitions to resume. The government stated that change also applies to recreational league sports such as adult hockey and drop-in activities like open swims and skates. After extensive consultation with our long-term renters and the provincial government, Council made the difficult decision that the arena would have a delayed opening this ice season due to the provincial government pandemic restrictions. Unfortunately, we found ourselves in a similar situation to other smaller arenas across the province where the provincial recreation gathering limits of 10 had a significant impact on our facility use. On September 15th, a letter was sent to the Honorable McNeil and Dr. Strang on behalf of Town Council and staff regarding concerns of the previously current restrictions for sports and recreation, and to support and endorse the letter of concern that was sent by Recreation Facility Association of Nova Scotia. There is a Hockey Nova Scotia provincial update meeting this Thursday, September the 24th at 7 p.m. to review the rebound play as well as other important topics. This meeting was set for tonight at 7 p.m. but was postponed due to the pending storm and potential power outages across the province. So it is the decision of council whether at this time they would like to proceed in making a decision regarding opening the arena at this meeting with the provincial government restrictions now eased to 50 people without social distancing for sports or physical activity, or would council like to wait until after the Hockey Nova Scotia meeting on Thursday evening and receive a staff report which will provide information on how exactly the rebound plan might change. The updated Hockey Nova Scotia guidelines will provide staff with the ability to accurately provide a financial figure if the arena season will be in a greater deficit position. The most recent version of the rebound plan was updated on August 6th. The second phase of the plan was noted to begin October 1, subject to change, which included to have modified play, team tryouts may be held, etc. It is anticipated that the Hockey Nova Scotia meeting on Thursday will provide clear guidelines on how the upcoming 2020-21 hockey season will look. A staff report would include information for council, such as an estimate of potential greater financial deficit for the upcoming ice season, COVID-19 regulations required for cleaning and safety protocols, transition time between rentals, consideration regarding how the community center will continue to operate, current staffing levels, and contingency proposed plans for if an employee develops COVID-19 symptoms. If requested by council, there could be a special council meeting held after the September 24th Hockey Nova Scotia meeting with a staff report prepared by the financial director and financial input by the finance director.
Thanks very much for that thorough review. Yes, Councillor Risser.
How would that affect, Kelly, timing in terms of what would be required to get the rink up and running?
So for timing, it would all depend on when we would like the rink to open or when council's decision to open the rink. So like I said before, it would take approximately 2 to 3 weeks to open the rink. So if we say perhaps a November 1 start date to open the arena, the delay of a special meeting wouldn't have much impact on a November 1 start date.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Councillor Croft.
Thank you, Worship. Through to Kelly, then what would be the harm in starting up a plan at this point?
Certainly, yes. So that I am already in preparations of putting together a plan. It would just be whether council wants to make a final decision of when you would like the arena open for.
Yes, Councillor Risser.
Thank you. Kelly, do you envision any basis on which the 50-person without social distancing limit would prevent people from playing hockey in the normal fashion and thus prevent our rentals? Like, are we waiting for a report that's a foregone conclusion, or is there actually still some stuff up in the air?
So what the Hockey Nova Scotia rebound plan will clarify is regarding games specifically for minor hockey. So although the government did say that games and competitions can resume, nothing has been posted by Hockey Nova Scotia, which is the guideline that minor hockey follows during it. So when minor hockey gets the go ahead that they will be able to play, then that will also increase their rentals in the Lunenburg Arena.
Waiting decrease their rentals for our arena specifically because they're doing their planning now, or no?
So sorry, I missed the first part of that question.
I said, will waiting to pick a date to open the rink decrease our rentals because of the uncertainty? And they're trying, I assume, to do their planning now, or no?
So minor hockey is in the position where they're waiting for this Hockey Nova Scotia meeting as well. So we were hoping that it would be tonight, but it's going to be on Thursday due to the hurricane. So they're in a wait and see situations too, because they have to, as required, to follow that Hockey Nova Scotia guideline.
Okay, well then with that, I'll move that we have a special meeting immediately after that meeting, as soon as the report can be prepared.
Okay, so there's a motion that we have a special meeting to receive the staff report at some point following the Hockey Nova Scotia meeting. Moved and seconded. Do we want to try to, it has been seconded by Councillor Croft, but Councillor Bachman, yeah. Sorry, I didn't make that clear. And I assume we would be looking in a staff report, Ms. Cunningham laid out, I think, fairly comprehensively what we would receive in a staff report, similar to what we had before. I think it's important to note that the arena operates at a deficit, and the deficit will be increased. And so when we were looking at options previously, it was to what degree the deficit will increase and what drives that increase. So one of the things that's important for us to know, and given some time, Ms. Cunningham may be able to better determine, and that is what our rentals might be. So it's minor hockey is certainly a very significant renter of the facility, but there are others too. So it would be good to know, given the new circumstances, are other teams still looking to get back to regular rental practice, or if there are some that drop off, or maybe some that jump on, if there are other facilities who were operating differently, and we may potentially attract new renters as well. So all that impacting the financial outlook. So yes, Councillor Croft.
Just curious to ask Kelly then, if and when we do open, would it be a surcharge that we could add for the extra cleaning and stuff required to our rates?
That is something certainly council could decide upon as well. If you would like that information, including in the staff report, I could ask the finance director to assist with that aspect.
So that
I think we should consider that.
So we could look at what that might be. I know there are some arenas who are charging that, others are not. So. Any further questions of Ms. Cunningham or discussion with respect to the, and may I ask Ms. Renton, the motion, could you read it for us, please?
Yes, moved by Councillor Ritter, seconded by Councillor Croft, that we have a special council meeting to receive an updated recreation and finance staff report regarding the proposed reopening of the arena, reflecting on the upcoming Hockey Nova Scotia rebound plan period. Too wordy?
Well, I think there would be other things reflected, but I think Ms. Cunningham probably covered that and things that she would also, or do we think, should we specify if there are other things to come?
Such as the cleaning fee. Yeah.
So the surcharge was something that was thrown out that could be included. And I likewise, I would hope, and I think was mentioned and envisioned, that there'd be some reconnection with past renters to I guess confirm that given the new circumstances, they would be willing and ready to rent the facility again this season.
If I may, Your Worship. So yesterday I spent the day connecting with those long-term renters that we had. I was able to connect with all of them except one that I left a voicemail. The reaction is positive. Everyone is excited to come back to the rink, which is great news. There's a few comments regarding they would like to, if they can use the dressing rooms, depending on if they're only allowed 10 minutes before a rental. Just that was the nature of hockey that they enjoy doing. So we have a lot of positive momentum for the arena.
Yes, Councillor Croft?
And also wondering about spectators and if they're, that should be somehow included in there as well.
Yeah, I assume that'll be what we'll have to set the plan for the facility, who else is allowed in, and I'm sure the rebound plan with minor hockey, they'll have to envision some of that too, as to whether or not parents are able to inside the facility and in what number. So it will be all very helpful to know and knowing what we're dealing with if we're looking to, which, we're certainly look like we're leaning towards reopening the facility sooner rather than later, given this new development from the province and public health restrictions. So is there anything further then? Or are you ready for the question? Ready for the question? All in favor? And it's unanimous, so there's no one to oppose, and the motion is carried. And we look forward to a staff report and setting a meeting to receive the same. Yes, Councillor Bachman?
Just wondering when the staff report could be ready, because if we have a meeting by day, I may need to try and arrange time off through the day.
Yeah. Well, I don't know how soon. I guess it depends. Some of it may depend on how much work or is left for Ms. Cunningham to do to pull the report together. I know she does have to consult with our finance director, and she may be, depending on outcome of the storm, may be ready sooner rather than, or later rather than sooner, with other priorities. But Ms. Cunningham, maybe that's a question for you. What's reasonable? It's next week or later next week or the week following? I guess I'm wondering too, if the 1st of October is still apply, it gives ample time if we're talking about a November 1st, or what are you thinking? Yeah, go ahead.
Thank you. Next week is certainly possible to have a report. That's no problem. I will make note that on Monday is the Provincial Volunteer Awards. That's held online. That got rescheduled from April. So that may not be the best day, but perhaps Tuesday or Wednesday I would have to consult with Ms. Dagley regarding that.
So Tuesday is a regular meeting day, and so that might be a natural, but Councillor Bachman?
Looking at my schedule, I'm working on Tuesday, so if it's going to be held on Tuesday, that's not great for me. I work until 3 unless we could hold it later in the day.
Any other feedback on a Tuesday meeting? Yeah. Yes, Deputy Mayor?
Oh, I think Tuesday will be fine. Ronnie, can you just take your iPad to work with you? It'll be a quick meeting.
Nope.
Not allowed?
Nope.
Well, but the alternative would be to meet later. If it's a special meeting, we could set a time other than 2. So that's
I get off at 3, so anything after 3 would be okay.
Okay.
Let's wait and see when the report can go out, and then we'll decide at that point what day and when.
Okay. All right. So tentatively keep considering later in the day on next Tuesday, and alternatively we'll put information out as to when otherwise we might need to meet. So thank you very much, and we're getting on in time, so I will move us along to our next bolded item on the agenda, which is under corporate services and new business. And that's a request of our Board of Trade for donated use of the Community Center Auditorium for a election candidates forum and promotion of same, I'm not sure. So they're looking, the Board of Trade has approached us. And actually, I think there may be a change from this initial ask. ask for clarification on that from Ms. Cunningham too. There was originally 2 dates and I thought there was some change to that, but I'm looking for confirmation or clarification.
So it is only one date. It was 2, and then yesterday we got the email that it's only 1. It will be Thursday, October the 8th, and they are requesting it for 6 hours, which would include setup and takedown at $36 per hour as per the fee schedule, tax included. So it would be $216 tax included that they are requesting.
Thanks very much. So, so a number of you would be involved in this, but I think the question is not around the involvement in the debate itself, but rather our function as the governing body of the community and looking to promote opportunities for the democratic process and partnering with a a volunteer organization in our community representing our local businesses who are looking to sponsor this event and looking for our help with that. So I certainly think it's a very worthwhile contribution for us to make. It's difficult for us to host these kinds of things as a body. So when someone else steps up to the plate, then I would hope we would be supportive of that. Any comments? Yes, Councillor Risser.
Thank you, Your Worship. Well, just to clarify, I presume that those of us who are running are not in a conflict on this, and that would leave us being court to you and Councillor Croft, but I'd just look for staff to confirm that.
I find, Your Worship, and it is something you've traditionally contributed to the process. A grant has been made to that effect to offset the.
In that case, I'll move that we grant the request.
Thank you. Moved by Councillor Risser and seconded by Councillor Croft. Yes, Deputy Mayor.
Just a question from a finance, well, Lisa's not with us, but, would this constitute part of our grants? In which case, we've got enough, but I know that the next item on the agenda, which we're probably not going to get to, is to support the doctor visit or whatever. And so I'm just questioning, would the 200 and some odd dollars, would that be part of our grants taken out of what we have available in grant money right now? I think the answer is yes, but I don't know. Lisa's not here, so.
Well, Lisa,
I am here, Your Worship.
Oh.
She can't help herself. Ms. Dagley, I said you were excused from this meeting, but she can't help herself.
I'm trying to keep an eye on the council meeting and the power outage that's currently ongoing in Blue Rocks. But yes, it would be part of your grant listing, Deputy Mayor, but it is an in-kind item. So it could be that the physical dollar amount, the 385 that we still have for a balance, could still be used for other grants as well.
Thank you.
Thanks very much for that clarification. Yes, Councillor Croft.
Thanks, Your Worship. Just reading over the request, I'm just wondering if Kelly knows if part of the request would be to also broadcast or tape that session that they're having.
It was asked that they would broadcast it live for those who would be unable to come or uncomfortable to be in that type of situation, but they have not requested that staff do that. So I think they would be doing it internally.
Yeah, there was the suggestion that it would be a Facebook Live broadcast that they would undertake as part of the program. So is there any further discussion about this or questions? Not, I'll call for the question. All in favor of granting the request? And it's unanimous and the motion is carried. And we wish them well with the event, and I wish all of you well in the event. The next bolded item is we're moving down into a in-camera recommendation, and that is with respect to the Lunenburg Academy Foundation first floor classroom, classroom 106 lease approval. And there is a draft resolution prepared for us with respect to that recommendation, which I don't have up. And I too am having problem with my bookmarks this meeting, which is a new experience, making it hard to find documents electronically.
If you'd like, your worship, I can read the resolution component of the draft resolution.
That might be very helpful because I can't locate it. So thanks.
So it reads at the conclusion, be it therefore resolved that council considers the Lunenburg Academy Foundation to be a non-profit organization, which is carrying on activity that is beneficial to the town. And we note that because it's proposed that it be at less than market value, just $1 a year rent. And we have to do that under the municipal grant or a municipal government act, I beg your pardon. And 2, the town agrees to enter into the lease, a copy of which is attached as a schedule, and that yourself and I are permitted to make any minor edits that are necessary once the foundation views a copy of it. Sometimes there's some slight changes or typos that need to be updated, and you don't want to have to take that back to council. And that you and I are in turn, your worship, authorized to execute the document on behalf of the town and affix the municipal seal to that. So if approved, we can move ahead with actioning that.
Great, thank you. So, yes, yes, Councillor Bachman.
Thank you, your worship. I was just going to move the motion or resolution, sorry.
Move that to we adopt the resolution. Is there a seconder for that? Councillor Risser, thank you very much. Discussion on this? No. Are we ready for the question then? All in favor of approval of the lease? And it is unanimous, so that is approved and or motion is carried, and so we approve the resolution and go ahead with that, going ahead with that new lease for the foundation and their heritage classroom. Yes, Deputy Mayor.
Before Matt makes a motion to adjourn, can we just deal with that Lunenburg Now thing? It should be very quick, I would hope, but and then we can adjourn.
That I was going to say, is that the next thing on the agenda? If I go backwards, I guess it is. So, Doctor Internship Program Grant Request of Lunenburg Now, and I'm not sure if I can get. I know what it is, but I don't know if I can get the specific request. Oh yes, I do have that one showing up. So it was basically an email request from Tina Henniker, who works for Lunenburg Now, and it's with respect to the new internship program that exists that we're very lucky to have, which we certainly are, to have doctors doing sessions here in our Shore area, including the town of Lunenburg. And there's an ask of 200 is a suggested amount that each suggested amount from each municipal unit to help with this program of welcoming young doctors to the area. So discussion?
I'll move that we donate $200.
Moved by Councillor McGee, seconded by Councillor Risser. I would actually, I'm in favor of supporting this, but I'm not sure that it should be a grant as out of our grant section. We have a policy for that, and there's quite as, you know, requirements as far as financial records and meeting deadlines and all that sort of thing. And I do see this as a little bit of a different kind of support. I see it more of an economic development function, and function of, well, it's really community development, but it's not, ultimately, I guess, doesn't make a difference where the money comes from, but just as a matter of principle, I would see it as an economic development expense item.
Your Worship, I wonder, I think we're in agreement that we'd like to support this. And could we just leave it to Lisa to determine where the money comes out of?
I'm fine with that if everyone else is. Okay. And so I hope Ms. Dagley's okay with that too.
I am, Your Worship.
Okay, great. Thank you. So with that little qualifier or understanding, we're ready for the vote. Up for approval of $200. All in favor? And it's unanimous that we provide that support for Lunenburg Now. And yes, Councillor Risser.
Well, now I'll move to adjourn.
Is there a seconder for that? There is, Councillor Croft. So I'm not in favor of that. I never am. I would really like us to spend a little bit of time just to get through an agenda for a time, but I put it to a vote. All in favor? And I will oppose definitively this time. And meeting is adjourned.